Rev up your engines!
All right, a guy decided he was going to see how far he could go in this F-150 Lightning electric pickup truck, right? So he picked it up in Michigan and drove it to Colorado, then drove it to way up in Alaska. The whole trip is 4,500 miles. And it has the 131 kilowatt extended range battery, the big giant battery, right? And he had a little bitty camper stuck on the back of the bed. They found that, one, there aren't that many charges around that are fast. So what he did was, he knew he's going to be stuck somewhere. So he brought charging setup. Anywhere you go, if you could plug it into a 240 volt receptacle, like at an RV park or something, he could charge it with his own machine. He just needed a plug to plug it into. And that's a 40 amp portable one. You know they're going to get stuck in it. Could you please let me plug into your stuff? And he did, right? Now, since it's a 131 kilowatt hour battery, with the 40 amp charger that he had that would plug into a 240 volt receptacle, it took 16 hours to fully recharge the battery. So realize it's going to take a long time. There's a lot of waiting. He said if he would have driven a regular truck, it would have probably taken him 5 normal days of driving to go from Detroit, where he bought it, up to the place in Alaska, right? Instead, it took him like 2 weeks for the same trip. So probably at least 3 times longer trips than you did before. Say, Daddy, are we going on vacation this year? Yeah, I'm taking a whole week off, but unfortunately, we're going to spend the entire time driving and charging up the electric truck, and we can't really go much of any place. He found that with this little camper on the bed, this one you're towing, it fits on the bed, those little bitty ones, right? He got a range of about 200 miles with a giant battery. The problem was finding places to charge it up, because the portable one that he brought, and you still have to find a place to plug it in that has 240 volts. If it was 120, it would take forever. It'd probably take days to charge it up, right? But with the 240 charging system he had that he had to plug into a plug somewhere, all he got was 13 miles of range per hour that he waited charging it up. So say he got lucky and he came by an RV park and they had 240 volt hookups. He'd only get 13 miles of range per hour him sitting there. And maybe if you stayed overnight there, but I mean, what are you going to stay overnight every 200 miles, you know? Next in the winter, it took them 2 weeks to do the trip, right? You're going to have to get somebody's permission. And if they see you're charging this wonker thing up, they're going to charge you money for it. They're not going to do it for free. He found out that it was a pain in the wazoo charging the thing up. Like, what a shocker there. Who wouldn't have thought that? And this is one guy, right? So you're talking about, well, he's at the forefront, right? You know, like Lewis and Clark going across America, right? This is one guy doing it. And now he could talk his way into, oh, can I plug in here or there? And okay, yeah, we understand. Well, if there's thousands or millions of people doing it, you're not going to be able to go to Joe in Alaska and say, I mean, can I plug into your house for a little while? No, that won't be allowed. Some guy was doing it. Oh, maybe these people are into electric vehicles and they'll let them charge it up. Most people are going to say, oh, that's interesting. It's quirky. Let's watch it. But when there's millions of people doing it, no. They're going to have an actual infrastructure, which doesn't exist, and generating stations that don't exist to make the electricity. I mean, come on now. Let's face reality. It's an electric fantasy that they're trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. And then when they buy it, oh, well, you bought it. Too bad. You own it now. Well, I guess you're going to have to look up the sky when you're driving too for fallen objects. A wind turbine blade just fell off in Gloucester, Massachusetts. Now, I drive by this thing when I go by Rhode Island. It's a big old wind turbine, right? Showing you that basically they cost a lot of money. They don't really last all that long. And obviously, they're not all that safe. They built this thing in 2012. Spent $8 million, they said. 6 years later, in 2018, a company called Applied Materials had to do the blades over. This is 6 years later. Remove the blades from the turbine and reattach them at the end of 2018. So that's the end of 2018. All right, so that's almost 2019. Well, now, 2022, one of the blades flew off. They talk about, oh, these save money, these do this. The city of Gloucester reeled in $203,000 in credits and revenues from 2 of these turbines. We're making money. Yeah, what did it cost to do the blades over? And what is it going to cost now to fix? One of them flew off, right? Obviously, they didn't do them over very well. Hey, Jack, I don't think we tightened that one up right last time, and it flew off, right? And hilariously enough, every time I drive from Rhode Island to Boston, outside of Fall River, Massachusetts, the thing's just sitting there. It's never spinning. And I'm like, well, that's weird. So I started asking everybody, and nobody seemed, I don't know. Finally, I meet the ex-chief of police in Portsmouth on the beach. Real nice guy, right? He said, I know, like 15 years ago, the thing broke, and it cost too much money. They didn't fix it, and then they found out how much money it cost to tear the thing down. They said, the heck with it, we'll just leave it there. So it's standing there when you drive by on a highway. It never spins because it's broken. It's been broken over 15 years from what he told me. You think these things are a good idea? They look like giant money pits to me. And now you got to watch out. The blade might fly off when you're going by. Those are pretty big blades going real fast. They had to shut down Blackburn Drive there because it flew off there, I guess. So much for this alternative energy stuff. People think that it's ready and up and running and it works. No, it doesn't. And of course, they give you all the fake data. Like that city said, oh, we got $200,000 in savings and credits, blah, blah. Yeah, and what did they pay to fix the thing? Probably 10 times that. You know, that's what it always goes. They never tell you the truth. They never give you the bottom line. I'm here to tell you the bottom line. And hey, now you got to watch out. They might fall down, hit you while you're going down the road. And if you live in an area where they are, you're probably going to be paying through the nose for these systems that don't work all that well, and then you got to fix them all the time. Jeez, the first one didn't last 6 years. They had to replace the blades, and then 3 years later, a blade falls off of the thing. No, I don't think it's such hot technology, let me tell you. Well, here's something that's starting to make a little bit more sense. The Chevy Bolt. Guy did a test on him at 70 miles an hour and found that at a range of like 231 miles. It's a smaller vehicle, costs a little bit less. To me, they're at least starting to go in the right direction. Don't make these giant things that need giant batteries and giant times to recharge them, and they're not going to go as far because they're carrying all that weight. Make things that are smaller. Now, they say they start at $27,200, but that's BS. You try buying one for that. The one they used was a limited one with extended range battery. They start at about $32,000. But again, try to buy one for $32,000. They keep marking all that stuff up. But if they ever do get 230 miles of range, and they are $20-something thousand, they will probably sell a reasonable amount of them if they hold up over time. Nobody knows. They should stop making them. They may all blow up. Who knows? Smaller, longer range go together because they weigh less weight to pull. There's already a company in China, and they are selling electric SUVs in Europe for under $20,000. They reach that price point. If they can bring that in the United States and sell it, they will certainly sell quite a few of them. Smaller SUVs. Everybody wants SUVs, right? And if you're not driving cross country and have to recharge them, and you're going to use them in town, you get 230 miles of range, charge them up at home at night. That makes a lot more sense than building these big vehicles. Smaller is better. Yeah, but then again, I mean, it is a Chevy product, right? Chevy Bolt EUV. You know, the problems they've had with electronics throughout the ages, who knows? But at least it's the right direction. Smaller, cheaper. Now, cheaper on paper. Like I say, you can't buy these things at the prices they quote. Go to the dealer and see what they actually cost. I had one the other day. The vehicle was supposed to be under $30,000. The guy paid $47,000 for it at the dealer. So don't believe these list prices today. Now, one day, if they actually are priced that they say they start at this and you can actually buy one at that price, take my warning. If you are looking at electric vehicles and you're looking at these prices, you have to ask them, what's the extended range battery version? Because they always try to sell you the cheap one that's got a cheaper battery. And a lot of these, they're putting the lower range batteries. Instead of lithium ion that costs more, they're putting in lithium iron phosphate batteries. They're cheaper to make, but they have less range. You buy one of those, your range will go down. Realize that. You got to do a lot of research before you buy one of these things. Mid-Engine Mission says, do I have a hardware failure or is it a freak occurrence? I got a 2000 Toyota Spider. I was driving and I ran over a fuel spill at a diesel fueling station. The stench of diesel was there. Within a mile, my check engine light came on. It said P0155. I checked the fuses. Now, it didn't come back. Well, my question is, can those fumes cause a false code? Or should I change both my oxygen sensors? Drive it doesn't come back. Yeah, the fume's dead. Especially if you went through a puddle, it could have splashed and gotten on the oxygen sensors. Realize the oxygen sensors, they compare the outside air with their little holes to the inside hot gases and make a comparison. And they're comparing this stenchy air that's outside. It'll definitely trip that code. So I really wouldn't worry about it if I were you. You get that kind of a stench, that's going to really make it go wacko because it's got to compare the outside air to your inside gas. And if the outside air is stench with diesel fumes, yeah, it'll trip the codes and make it go wacky. So I wouldn't worry about it at all. I doubt it's going to come right back on, you know? If you went to a deep enough puddle and it splashed on, diesel fuel getting on those sensors could have actually destroyed the sensors. So if it does come back in the future, replace the sensors because it could have damaged them if it splashed in the diesel. But if it was only fumes and you didn't splash through it, then it couldn't have damaged anything at all. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.